My beloved child, there are moments in your life when doing the right thing doesn't seem to make life easier. It makes it harder. You chose honesty, and someone else got the promotion. You chose integrity, and people called you difficult. You stayed faithful, while others compromised and seemed to move ahead. You refused to lie. You refused to cheat. You refused to become someone you knew you weren't. Yet somehow, it feels like you're the one paying the price. My child, I know how confusing that feels, because the world has taught you that if you work hard enough, stay kind enough, and make all the right decisions, life should reward you. But life doesn't always work that way. Sometimes the greatest opposition comes immediately after your greatest act of obedience. I know the questions you've been carrying. God, why am I being treated unfairly? Why do people keep misunderstanding my heart? Why does it seem like those who lie, manipulate, and take shortcuts continue to succeed while I'm struggling just to stay faithful? I have heard every one of those questions. Not just the words you prayed, but the ones you buried deep inside because you were afraid they sounded like doubt. My child, you are not doubting my goodness. You're simply trying to understand my timing. And I want you to know something today. Just because following me has become difficult doesn't mean I have stopped leading you. Sometimes the road of obedience becomes narrow before it becomes beautiful. Sometimes faithfulness attracts opposition because darkness has always resisted light. Some of you know exactly what that feels like. You've walked into rooms where you could feel the tension before anyone spoke a word. You've been left out of conversations, overlooked for opportunities, judged for standing by your values. Maybe people smiled in front of you, but criticized you behind your back. Maybe you've been blamed for things you didn't do. Maybe you've worked with excellence only to watch someone else receive the credit. And every time it happened, you wondered if staying faithful was even worth it. My child, I saw every moment. I saw the meeting where your voice was ignored. I saw the email that hurt more than anyone realized. I saw the drive home when you turned off the radio because your heart was too heavy for noise. I saw you sitting in your driveway, holding back tears before walking into your house because you didn't want your family to see how tired you really were. Nothing about your pain has escaped my attention. Not one tear, not one silent prayer, not one lonely night. The hardest battles are often the invisible ones. The battle of staying kind when people are cruel. The battle of remaining honest when dishonesty seems to be rewarded. The battle of choosing forgiveness when bitterness feels easier. The battle of trusting me when nothing around you seems fair. These are the battles that shape your soul. Not because I enjoy seeing you struggle, but because I am preparing you for something greater than you can see today. Character is not built in comfort. It is forged in quiet faithfulness when no one else is watching. And my child, I have been watching every decision, every sacrifice, every moment you chose integrity over convenience, every time you refused to become bitter, every prayer you whispered through disappointment. None of it has been wasted. Long before your story, there was another man who knew exactly how you feel. His name was Daniel. He lived in a culture that did not honor me. He served under powerful rulers who didn't share his faith. Yet he remained faithful. He worked with excellence. He spoke with wisdom. He lived with integrity. And instead of being celebrated, he became the target of jealousy. The higher I lifted him, the more others wanted to pull him down. Does that sound familiar? Sometimes the blessing I place on your life becomes the very reason others misunderstand you. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because my favor cannot always be explained by human logic. Pause for 5 seconds. Daniel could have compromised. He could have blended in. He could have chosen comfort over conviction. Instead, he chose faithfulness. And that choice would soon lead him to the darkest night of his life. A place no one would willingly choose. A place filled with fear. A place where it looked as though evil had finally won. A den filled with hungry lions. But what no one standing there understood was that I was already waiting inside before Daniel ever arrived. My beloved child, one of the hardest truths for the human heart to accept is this: my protection does not always mean my prevention. Sometimes you ask me, Lord, if you love me, why didn't you stop this from happening? Why didn't you stop the betrayal? Why didn't you stop the accusation? Why didn't you stop the loss? I understand those questions. Mary asked them. Martha asked them. Job asked them. David asked them. Even my own disciples asked them. And perhaps today, you are asking them too. My child, never mistake my silence for my absence. Just because I did not stop the storm does not mean I was not already preparing your deliverance. Daniel had done nothing wrong. He was honest, faithful, respectful. He served with excellence. The king trusted him more than anyone else. But the very favor I placed upon his life stirred jealousy in the hearts of others. The officials searched desperately for a flaw in Daniel's character. They investigated his work, his decisions, his reputation, his past. But they found nothing. No corruption, no dishonesty, no hidden scandal, no compromise. Can you imagine that? The only accusation they could make against Daniel was that he loved me too much. My child, sometimes people will dislike you simply because the light within you exposes the darkness they refuse to confront. Not everyone will celebrate your integrity. Not everyone will understand your peace. Not everyone will applaud your faith. Some people become uncomfortable when they see someone refusing to compromise. That discomfort has nothing to do with you. It is the battle taking place inside their own hearts. So do not spend your life trying to earn acceptance from people who have already decided to misunderstand you. Walk faithfully before me. That is enough. The jealous officials created a trap. They convinced King Darius to sign a law that for 30 days no one could pray to anyone except the king. They knew exactly what Daniel would do. They weren't attacking his career. They were attacking his relationship with me. Because the enemy understands something many people forget. If he can weaken your faith, he doesn't have to defeat your circumstances. He knows fear grows when prayer becomes silent. He knows anxiety becomes louder when trust becomes weaker. That is why he always attacks the place where you meet with me. Now watch Daniel carefully. He hears about the new law. He understands the consequences. He knows that praying could cost him everything. His position, his reputation, perhaps even his life. Yet Scripture says something extraordinary. He went home, opened his windows toward Jerusalem, knelt down, and prayed just as he always had. He did not panic. He did not negotiate with fear. He did not ask, "How little can I obey God and still stay safe?" He simply remained faithful. My child, real faith is often revealed not in dramatic moments, but in ordinary obedience. Daniel prayed the same way on the dangerous day that he prayed on the peaceful days. Because his relationship with me was never based on convenience. It was based on trust. What about you? When life becomes difficult, do you run toward me or away from me? When anxiety grows louder, do you spend more time with me or more time feeding your fear? When doors begin closing, do you trust my voice or only your circumstances? My beloved child, the place you run during your greatest pressure reveals where your deepest trust truly rests. Daniel's habit of praying was not built in crisis. It was built long before the crisis arrived. That is why the lion's den could not destroy him. The den was new, but his faith was not. The king was heartbroken. He admired Daniel. He wanted to rescue him. But even a king's power had limits. As the heavy stone was rolled across the entrance of the lion's den, everyone watching believed the story was over. The officials smiled. The crowd walked away. The king spent the entire night without sleep. But my child, while everyone else was worrying outside the den, I was already inside it. Before Daniel's feet touched that dark ground, my presence was already waiting, and the same is true for you. Whatever den you are walking into today, I entered it before you did. Stay with me, because in the next chapter, you will discover what happened inside the lion's den when fear met the presence of the living God, and why no darkness can overcome the one who walks with me. My beloved child, imagine the silence after the stone was rolled into place. No escape, no light, no human help, no second chance. Daniel stood completely alone, or at least, that's what everyone outside believed. The officials walked away celebrating. They believed they had finally defeated the man who trusted me. King Darius returned to his palace brokenhearted. He refused food. He couldn't sleep. His mind kept returning to one question: will Daniel survive the night? But while the king spent the night worrying, Daniel spent the night in my presence. Because my child, the place others expect you to die often becomes the place where you know me most intimately. Many people imagine the greatest miracle was that I shut the mouths of the lions. But there was another miracle that happened first. I gave Daniel peace. Think about that. He wasn't screaming. He wasn't bargaining. He wasn't asking, "Why me?" He trusted the same God inside the den that he trusted outside the den. That kind of peace doesn't come from favorable circumstances. It comes from knowing who is standing beside you. My child, that is the peace I want to give you. Not a peace that depends on everything going your way, but a peace that remains when life doesn't make sense. A peace that quiets your heart while everyone else is panicking. A peace that whispers, "You are not alone." Then I sent my angel, not after the danger had passed, not the next morning, right there, in the middle of the danger, because I don't always rescue my children from the fire. Sometimes I rescue them within the fire. I don't always keep you out of the storm. Sometimes I calm your heart while the storm is still raging. That night, the lions remained lions. Their strength didn't disappear. Their teeth didn't fall out. Their nature didn't change. What changed was my authority over them. The mouths that were created to destroy could not move unless I allowed them. My child, the same is true for every lion in your life. Fear may roar. Anxiety may whisper. People may threaten you. Circumstances may look impossible. But nothing can touch your life unless it first passes through my sovereign hands. You are not at the mercy of your circumstances. You are held securely by my love. Perhaps your lions aren't made of flesh and bone. Perhaps your lion is depression that tells you tomorrow will never be better. Perhaps it's anxiety that keeps you awake every night. Perhaps it's financial pressure that follows you everywhere you go. Perhaps it's the fear of losing your job. Perhaps it's a doctor's report that has stolen your peace. Perhaps it's loneliness that makes every evening feel longer than the last. My beloved child, those lions may roar loudly, but they do not have the final word. I do. When my voice speaks, fear becomes silent. When my presence fills the room, darkness loses its power. When my hand rests upon your life, what was sent to destroy you becomes another testimony of my faithfulness. Notice something beautiful. Daniel didn't know when morning would come. He didn't know how the story would end. He simply trusted me one moment at a time. That is real faith. Real faith isn't having every answer. Real faith is believing my heart, even when you cannot trace my hand. Some of you have been asking me to explain everything. But my child, if I explained every detail, there would be no room for trust. Sometimes I reveal my plan one step at a time because every step draws you closer to me. And I would rather have you walking beside me in uncertainty than walking confidently without me. As the first light of dawn began to appear over Babylon, King Darius could not wait any longer. He ran toward the lion's den. His heart was pounding. His voice trembled as he cried out, "Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God whom you serve continually, been able to rescue you from the lions? For a brief moment, the world held its breath. Then a voice echoed from inside the den, calm, strong, full of life. My king, live forever. My God sent his angel, and he shut the mouths of the lions. The king's tears turned into joy. The officials who expected a funeral witnessed a miracle instead. The den that was meant to become Daniel's grave became the stage for my glory. Stay with me, because in the final chapters, I will show you why I didn't simply save Daniel's life. I used his greatest trial to reveal my power to an entire nation, and I want to do the same through yours. My beloved child, when Daniel walked out of the lion's den, he didn't merely survive. He came out with a testimony that no one could deny. The same people who expected to celebrate his destruction stood speechless. The same king who spent the entire night worrying now witnessed my faithfulness with his own eyes. The den that was supposed to end Daniel's influence became the very reason his influence multiplied. Do you see what I did? I didn't simply rescue Daniel. I transformed the place of his greatest fear into the place of his greatest victory. My child, that is what I have always done. Joseph's prison became his pathway to the palace. Moses' Red Sea became Israel's road to freedom. Lazarus' tomb became the stage for resurrection. Daniel's lion's den became a testimony that echoed throughout an entire kingdom. And your story will be no different. Right now, you may only see the den. You may only see the betrayal, the rejection, the financial pressure, the doctor's report, the uncertainty, but I already see the testimony that is waiting on the other side. One day people will ask, how did you make it through that? And your answer won't be, because I was strong enough. Your answer will be, because God never left me. That testimony will encourage someone who is about to give up. It will remind another weary heart that miracles still happen. It will point people not to your strength, but to my faithfulness. My beloved child, there are blessings I could give you quietly, and there are blessings I choose to give publicly, so that others will know I am still the living God. Daniel's deliverance wasn't only for Daniel. It revealed my power to an entire nation. Your breakthrough isn't only about you either. There are people watching your life. Your children are watching. Your friends are watching. Your coworkers are watching. They may never open a Bible, but they are reading the way you trust me. After Daniel was rescued, King Darius made a declaration throughout his kingdom. He proclaimed that people should honor the God of Daniel. Think about that. The king didn't make that declaration before the lion's den. He made it after. Sometimes I use your greatest trial to reveal my greatest glory. The season that almost broke you will become the season that strengthens someone else. The tears you've cried in secret will become words of hope for another hurting soul. Nothing you have suffered in my hands has been wasted. Not one lonely night, not one unanswered question, not one painful season. I am weaving every moment together into a story that displays my goodness. Today, stop measuring your future by the size of the lions. Measure it by the greatness of the God who walks beside you. The lions may roar, but they cannot overrule my voice. The darkness may surround you, but it cannot extinguish my light. People may reject you, but they cannot cancel my purpose for your life. If I have called you, I will sustain you. If I have promised you, I will fulfill it. If I am with you, then nothing standing against you will have the final word. My child, do not fear the den. Fear living without trusting me, because the safest place you will ever be is not a place without problems. It is a life completely surrendered into my hands. Stay with me, because in the final chapter, I will pray over every heart that feels surrounded by lions, and I will remind you that the God who protected Daniel is still watching over you today. My beloved child, before this message comes to an end, I want you to hear me with your heart. You are not reading Daniel's story because it happened thousands of years ago. You are reading it because I am still writing stories like it today. The lions may look different. The den may have another name, but I have not changed. I am still the God who protects. I am still the God who delivers. I am still the God who walks with my children when everyone else believes their story is over. Perhaps today your lions are anxiety. Perhaps they're financial burdens that keep you awake at night. Perhaps they're people who have betrayed your trust. Perhaps they're doctors' reports that have filled your heart with fear. Or maybe your lion is something no one else can see, the silent battle inside your own mind. My child, whatever your lion is, it is not greater than my presence. Remember, Daniel did not defeat the lions. I did. He simply trusted me. That is all I ask from you. Not perfection, not extraordinary strength, not all the answers. Just trust. One prayer at a time, one step of faith at a time, one day of obedience at a time. Because while you are trusting, I am working. Even when you cannot see my hand is still holding you. One day, you will look back at this season and realize something that is impossible to see today. The very battle that made you question my plan became the reason you discovered my faithfulness more deeply than ever before. Without the lion's den, Daniel would never have experienced my supernatural protection. Without the prison, Joseph would never have reached the palace. Without the Red Sea, Israel would never have witnessed my power. Without the tomb, Lazarus would never have displayed my glory. Without the cross, the world would never have known my love. My child, do not despise the season you are in. I can transform your deepest pain into your greatest testimony.